The spreadsheet had been configured with its default starting values. These are the values that are entered when you click the Reset User Values command button. Let's set up a scenario and then examine the results. We'll set the date of birth to 1984. We'll set our age when we begin work at 22. We'll set our retirement age at 70. And we'll set our age at death at 95. Note that the spreadsheet has computed that we need to save 34.2% of our net after-tax income for every year that we work in order to meet any retirement goal we set. The value computed in this cell is a function of two numbers. They are the number of years you live in retirement and the number of years that you live after you start working. This number is computed by dividing the number of years you are retired by the number of years that you live after you started work. I'll point out that if we temporarily change the age of death to the same age we were when retired, 70, note that the number becomes 0, and that's because we won't need any retirement funds if we're already dead. I'll reset those numbers back. We're going to assume that the only source of retirement funds will be personal savings. That is to say, we're not going to receive any Social Security, and we're not going to be a participant in any kind of a pension plan. Furthermore, to keep things simple, we're going to assume that there is no inflation and that the money we save for retirement does not receive any interest. We'll also initially make the assumption that our income during our working life will be free from federal and state income taxes. At this point, we're going to pick a number which will be the target amount of money that we want to receive during our retirement. We want to receive this amount of money each and every month. So we're going to enter $5,000. And that would be in current dollars, which is 2025. You can see that the model predicts that we will need a nest egg of $1,500,000 if we want to receive $5,000 a month during our retirement years. Now, based on the numbers that we entered here, we're going to be retired for 25 years. Accordingly, the nest egg that we need when we start retirement, $1,500,000, is easy to calculate. Specifically, we take $5,000 a month, desired income, times 12 months a year, times 25 years in retirement, and that should give us $1,500,000. Using the Windows calculator, we'll enter $5,000 times 12 months a year times 25 years in retirement gives us $1,500,000, the same as our target nest egg. The model also says that if we want to meet our $1,500,000 nest egg, we need to save $2,604 every month during our working career. And we have already determined that we're going to be working 48 years based upon the numbers we entered. Going back to our Windows calculator, if we take $2,604 a month times 12 months a year times 48 years that we worked, we get essentially $1.5 million. The difference between these two are very slight rounding errors due to the computations used in the spreadsheet. Take this a little further. If we need to save $2,604 every month, and the spreadsheet has told us that we need to save 34.2% of our gross salary, well then we can easily calculate our gross salary, which the spreadsheet says should be $7,604. Going back to the calculator, if we take $2,604 per month and divide it by our required saving rate, which is in decimals 0.342, enter key, we get $7,614. Again, the slight difference is due to rounding in the spreadsheet. Now, if we need to make $7,604 per month, we can easily figure out how much we need to make on an annual basis. We'll go back to our calculator and we'll go 7,604 times 12 for 12 months a year. And we come up with $91,248, only $2 different than what's predicted in the spreadsheet. And to pretty much wrap this up, we've assumed that our annual income wasn't subject to any federal or state taxes. That's not realistic. So we're going to enter a value here. And we'll say that our federal and state tax rate combined will be 30%. On the basis of a 30% tax rate, we really need to make a gross annual pre-tax income of a little over $130,000. Again, going back to our calculator, if we take 7,604 times 12, that'll give us our annual income, assuming no tax, and then we divide that by 0.7, assuming a 30% tax bracket, we get $130,354, which is almost the same as the spreadsheet computed. So far, we've assumed that our model is not subject to any inflation during the analysis period, nor are our savings for retirement being increased by any earnings from interest. We need to change that to make this more realistic. Accordingly, we'll set the annual inflation rate to 3%. That happens to be the historical average for the last 50 years. Note the significant increase in the amount of money we'd have to withdraw each month in order to support ourselves in retirement based upon 3% average inflation. Also note that inflation has greatly increased the size of the required nest egg to support our retirement needs. Not only did we have to save more every month while we were working, we had to make more every month before paying income tax. With a 30% income tax rate, we would need to make about $307,000 every year during our 48-year working life in order to meet this retirement goal. Now, to finish this up, let's add in a number for interest that would be earned on our retirement savings as we accumulated it. The interest on the retirement nest egg would also continue to accumulate until the nest egg was exhausted. We're going to enter the same amount as inflation, 3%. This is a reasonable estimate of long-term average earnings for interest on our investments before tax. So we'll use the enter key to make that change. Note the effect that it did. The amount that we need to withdraw remains the same. However, the size of the nest egg goes down quite a bit because we're earning interest on the amount we're saving as we go along. The big difference is the annual income needed to support this retirement goal goes down a huge amount, about just under $97,000. That's a significant reduction percentage-wise from what it was before we added in interest earnings. That completes the analysis of this particular retirement savings scenario. We'll reset the spreadsheet by clicking the Reset Command button.